Christmas traditions vary from culture to culture. Finns often visit saunas on Christmas Eve, while Portuguese hold a feast for the living and the dead. In Greece, some believe that goblins run wild during the 12 days of Christmas, and most Greeks don't exchange presents until January 1st. Thanks to their geographic location, most Australians and New Zealanders enjoy Christmas on the beach or at barbecues. Spain, meanwhile, hosts the world's largest lottery. Since the Great Depression, the Rockettes have shared Radio City Music Hall with live farm animals, from camels to donkeys to sheep, all to stage a live nativity scene for its annual Christmas spectacular. But the world saw its first living nativity in 1224, when Saint Francis of Assisi recreated the birth of Jesus to explain the holiday to his followers. During the first display, the manger was also used as an altar for Christmas Mass. Even before the arrival of Christianity, Germans decorated evergreen trees to brighten the dark, gloomy days of the winter solstice. The first Christmas trees appeared in Strasbourg in the 17th century and spread to Pennsylvania in the 1820s with the arrival of German immigrants. When Queen Victoria married Germany's Prince Albert in 1840, he brought the tradition to England. 8 years later, the first American newspaper ran a picture of the royal Christmas tree, and Americans outside Pennsylvania quickly followed suit. According to Celtic and Teutonic legend, mistletoe is magical. It can heal wounds, increase fertility, bring good luck, and ward off evil spirits. The tradition of kissing under the mistletoe didn't begin until the Victorian era, a surprising origin given the stuffy and sexually repressive behavior of the time. In 1965, two astronauts on their way back to orbit spotted something in space they couldn't identify. Frantic, they radioed mission control. After several minutes of tense silence, engineers at Cape Canaveral began hearing the faint jingle of sleigh bells, followed by a harmonica rendition of Jingle Bells, played by none other than the two astronauts. The men later donated the harmonica and the bells to the National Museum of Space and Aeronautics in Washington, where they now sit on display. Like the Energizer Bunny, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer got his start as an advertising gimmick. A copywriter named Robert L. May first created the Merry Misfit in 1939 to lure shoppers into the Montgomery Ward department store. Frosty the Snowman and his famous corncob pipe couldn't escape the clutches of the advertising industry either. A whiskey maker in 1890 used Frosty's likeness to showcase an entirely different kind of holiday cheer. Once Prohibition ended, the chain-smoking snowman quickly became the go-to guy for alcohol ads. The author best known for creating the Headless Horseman also created the iconic image of Santa flying in a sleigh. In his 1819 series of short stories, The Sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon, New York native Washington Irving described a dream in which Saint Nicholas soared across the sky in a weightless wagon. The stories became so popular they spawned a Christmas revival in the States. And even Charles Dickens is said to have credited Irving's work for inspiring his classic holiday tale, A Christmas Carol. From 1659 to 1681, showcasing one's holiday spirit in Boston could cost you a fine of as much as 5 shillings. That's right! Christmas used to be illegal. It's somewhat surprising then that the same puritanical minds also created the first American batch of eggnog at Captain John Smith's 1607 Jamestown settlement. Christmas was so inconsequential in early America that after the Revolutionary War, Congress didn't even bother taking the day off to celebrate the holiday, deciding instead to hold its first session on Christmas Day of 1789. It took almost a century for Congress to proclaim it a federal holiday. 5 months into the First World War, troops along the Western Front took a Christmas Eve break from fighting to sing carols to one another across the battlefield. The following morning, German soldiers emerged from the trenches and began to approach Allied troops while calling out "Merry Christmas" in English. Luckily, it wasn't a trick. Dozens of British fighters came out to greet them and shake hands, some even exchanging cigarettes as gifts. Later dubbed the Christmas Truce of 1914, it was one of the last examples of wartime chivalry. Contrary to popular belief, the Bible doesn't actually mention a specific date for Jesus' birth. In fact, most historians believe that he was probably born in the spring, hence the Bible's description of shepherds herding animals. But in the 4th century, when the Catholic Church decided to recognize Jesus' birth as an official holiday, Pope Julius I chose December 25th for the Feast of the Nativity. That date happened to coincide with a pagan festival known as Saturnalia.